company. Ordinarily, two's company. But contrarily, we disagree, no matter what it happens to be.
You're the perverse one.
I agonize
Night and day with you.
to compromise.
There's no way with you.
I wish I had picked a large boa constrictor, my friend.
Are you trying to tell me something?
You're the perverse one, two's company.
Indisputably.
Two's company.
Irrefutably.
How we embark on old Noah's Ark, pair by pair.
Not so loud.
So ask me whose company.
Whenever I choose company.
I gotta say, two's company.
Except for this affair.
You give me Maldemare.
You know what that means?
Could we let in some fresh air?
No, madam.
Au contraire. Got my mother to blame for this, Robert. She thought I was a better dancer than Shirley Temple, and that was even before I learned to take lessons.
I hope it's not one of your hobbies, madam.
What's the matter? Don't you like Shirley Temple?
My living room is directly beneath, madam. I'm sure you will agree that the noise could be quite irritating if I happen to be playing a Beethoven string quartet.
You do work for me, don't you, Robert? Sometimes I get a little confused.
Madam, I'm sure you'll agree that it would be a sacrilege to damage expensive flooring. It was polished only yesterday by Mrs.
To hell with Mrs. Percy. If I want to tap dance, I'm going to tap dance. Besides, Mrs. Percy is paid to polish this floor.
Yes, madam. To polish, not to remove indentations.
Now, Robert, now listen, let me explain. I'm on chapter 4 in my book, and I'm stopped. I mean, actually stopped to try to find a way of how to get information out of East Berlin. You see, the secret chief of police is in love with a tap dancer, and she's a member of the CIA. But the problem is that he looks like Godzilla, and she looks like Raquel Welch. So what happens?
But could it be, madam, that she permits Godzilla to make love to her, gets the required information, and taps out the message in Morse to a waiting CIA man who happens to be her lover?
How did you know that?
Most original, madam.
Wait a minute. Now, did Shakespeare worry about originality? I mean, what's so original about Boy Meets Girl?
I beg your pardon?
Romeo and Juliet.
I wasn't criticizing, madam.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Ever since the British helped the Americans win the war in Europe, you can't...
The British bore the brunt of the fighting in France.
Are you kidding? If it wasn't for us, you'd still be waiting ashore in Normandy. Your Montgomery had no imagination.
I served under Monty, madam, and I have the highest possible regard for him.
Why? Did you like your cooking?
I was in the infantry, madam.
A private.
A captain.
My brother was a colonel under General Patton.
And did he ever get as far as Europe, madam?
He happened to have won 2 Purple Hearts.
Perhaps he had a recurrence of the flu.
Ho, ho, ho. What's that supposed to mean?
From my experience, madam, the Americans appear to have been decorated every time they managed to successfully combat a cold.
My goodness, we do happen to be in a devastatingly witty mood this morning, don't we?
Yes, thank you, madam. I must talk to you yet again, madam, about the housekeeping.
Go ahead, it's a free country.
I must have some more money.
How much?
Another £5 a week would suffice.
£5? Robert, I don't own North Sea oil. I just write books for a living.
Then you really must curtail your entertaining, madam.
And you've got to learn to live within my budget.
But you gave 2 dinner parties last week.
Yes, and I'm giving 2 more. One tonight and one on Friday night. It's your own fault, Robert. The word's out. Dorothy McNabb's got the best food in town.
Thank you.
Now listen. Friday night, I'm giving a dinner party for Senator Culpeper.
Senator Culpeper?
Yes. You see, they've asked me to wine and dine him so I can get his vote on the tax allowance bill for authors domiciled abroad.
You wish him to be treated as a VIP, madam?
Well, of course, Robert, to get his vote.
Then I really must have some more money.
You know, I fell for your sob story last week, and I gave you an extra £1.50. Now you're asking me for £5.
I do have a standard to maintain.
But you maintained it last week.
Only by subsidizing the housekeeping with my own money.
Which proves one of two things. Either you're a lousy housekeeper or I'm paying you too much money.
So you refuse to give me any more money?
Flatly.
Very good.
I won that round, didn't I, Robert? Robert! I just won an argument, and I feel terrific. Wasn't it your Winston Churchill who said, in victory, magnanimity?
I notice, madam, you had to rely on the words of an Englishman to express your sentiments.
Oh, now, wait a minute. What are you talking about? His mother was an American.
Yes. A very strange lady.
Well, what about his father? He went nuts, didn't he?
Hardly surprising, was it, madam?
No good. You're not going to upset me, Robert. I'll get that. The only thing you're going to stir up today is the soup. Hello. Hi, Barbara. Oh, darling, that's sweet of you to call. Yeah, it was a fun party, wasn't it? I'll say. He slings a pretty mean hash, doesn't he? What? Robert? Attractive? I guess so. I never really thought about it. Oh, come on, Barbie's not that good looking. Matter of fact, I find him rather irritable at times. I have a sneaking suspicion he's anti-American. Excuse me just a minute, Barbara. I gotta make a note. Keep Robert away from the senator on Friday night. I'm sorry, darling. I was just kidding. What? Uh-huh. What are you talking about? Robert? Leaving me? You've got to be kidding. Well, I don't give a damn what you've heard. I'm telling you one thing, Barbara, and I'm telling you once and for all. Robert is mine. I found him, and he's staying right... Have you got a moment, Robert?
Why, madam?
I'd like to have a word with you.
I am preparing the luncheon, madam.
Oh, sorry, I'll send a telegram.
You do like to eat sharp at 1 o'clock, madam.
No, you like me to eat sharp at 1 o'clock. And so you can have the rest of the afternoon off. You know, you're very sneaky, Robert. You remind me of the spy in my book.
I hope you're not going to tap out your message to me, madam.
Oh, no. No more tap dancing, Robert.
I am grateful about that, madam. I doubt very much whether the kitchen floor would stand up to it.
Robert, you are reasonably happy here, aren't you?
I do happen to be rather peeved, madam.
Well, I've been thinking it over, and I'm perfectly willing to give you an extra £1.50 this week.
I used that amount in shoe leather, madam, doing your shopping.
But, Robert, if I keep opening my purse to you, you'll never be able to learn to live within my budget.
I do have a reputation to be considered, madam.
Well, cunning sauces, Robert, to hide the cheaper cuts.
This is not Joe's calf, madam.
But it's not the Savoy either.
Perhaps you'd care to inspect my books, madam.
Why, do you cook those too?
I feel it only fair to tell you, madam, that I have had 2 or 3 offers from your friends.
Robert! You turned them down, didn't you?
It may have escaped your notice, madam, but I'm still here.
And this little souffle of an argument is not going to give you second thoughts, now is it?
I am not one to run away from a battle, madam.
Thank you, Robert. You know, Barbara was right. You are good-looking when you smile.
I shall ignore that remark, madam.
Why? It was a compliment.
If you make a similar observation again, madam, I shall have no alternative but to hand in my notice.
Why?
You have embarrassed me.
But why? I simply said
Our
that
relationship can only possibly exist, madam, if it's kept on a business-like footing. In future, I must ask you to control your feelings.
Control my feelings, Robert. All I said was that you looked adorable when you smiled.
I would like to continue with the luncheon if you don't mind, madam.
Okay, go ahead, but be careful not to smile. I might lose control. I know it's none of my business, but what are you going to give the senator Friday night?
I think something really rather dramatic, madam.
Terrific.
It will be.
I'll see you at lunch. Okay? Moonface?
Believe me, Dorothy, the poverty I've seen on this world tour has made an indelible impression on me. We must eradicate it from the face of the earth. That'll be my message to Congress. When do you eat in this house?
Oh, now, don't be impatient, Ed. Believe me, it's well worth waiting for.
Well, I've been looking forward to this dinner ever since I finished my lunch.
Your butler sure knows how to mix a dry martini, Daddy.
Yes. Isn't he marvelous? I mean, they're really terrific, aren't they, Claire?
Well, I must admit I've never tasted scotch like this.
Careful now, Ed. 2 or 3 of Robert's scotches and you'll start to hear bagpipes in the distance.
I just love the bagpipe.
Ed, if I could have a word with you about the tax allowance bill, I know
Is his cooking as fantastic as all our friends have made out?
Well, I even go so far as to say it's better.
What's he like as a man?
I want what?
Robert.
As a man? Well, he's terribly British.
I guess that's better than nothing. Wouldn't you agree, husband? I call him that out of nostalgia.
No more drink for you. You're drunk.
No. Now, come on, Ed. She's only had 3 martinis, but who's counting? Now, listen, if we could get back to this tax
It'll be
allowance...
a better meal than I had in Paris. Each of the 7 courses was a gourmet's dream. Now, what were we talking about before I got on my favorite subject?
Oh, my God, I forgot. Wait a minute now. It was the tax allowance bill for authors domiciled abroad, wasn't it? Poverty.
Surely it's not beyond the wit of man to find a cure for it. They did for malaria.
Allow me to refill your glass, Senator.
Oh, but I've just this minute finished it. That man has extrasensory perception. I didn't even hear him come in the room.
That's my sneakers. Robert, what time is dinner?
In 2 3/4 minutes, madam.
Did you hear that, Ed?
Robert, have you ever met your royal family, Robert?
I once had the privilege of pouring their sherry, madam.
My, that's wonderful.
Tell me, Bob, are you interested in politics?
As a matter of fact, I am,
No,
sir.
Robert has no opinion on politics. No. None whatsoever. No, he really doesn't.
He must have. Everybody has.
What was she like?
Who, madam?
Your queen.
Most charming, madam.
He's met his queen. I think that's beautiful.
What are your views on American foreign policy, Bob?
Well, the American foreign policy, sir.
Robert just sticks to souffles, don't you, Robert? I mean, he just doesn't want to get involved, Ed, do you?
Oh, he must. It's his duty. After all, he's a human being who happens to be born into democracy. That means he's entitled to speak his mind.
Well, maybe after dinner we could all...
Well, let me have it. Straight from the hip. Both guns blazing.
Did she thank you?
For what, madam?
Pouring the sherry into her glass.
No, madam, but she did smile.
Gosh.
Don't interrupt, Claire. This is government work I'm on. Now, American foreign policy. Let me have the truth.
Rather reminiscent, sir, of the Marx Brothers.
Marx Brothers?
Yes, sir. Most amusing.
Robert, what about the dinner?
Yes.
No. I want to know what he finds so amusing about our foreign policy.
Or perhaps a particularly precocious child, sir, taking its first lessons in juggling. Up goes Cuba, Chile, Greece, and its adoring mother expects us to applaud when it drops every one of them.
Robert!
Just who the hell does he think he is?
Well, you did ask him to fire from the hip, Ed.
Well, not while my back was turned. Anyway, I wanted the truth, not a blazing collection of comic cliches.
Oh, now, don't be angry, Ed. I'm sure you'll see him in an entirely different light after you've tasted his cooking.
Well, besides, it didn't make any sense. There ain't nobody at the State Department that looks like Groucho.
No, of course
And
not.
nobody at the Pentagon who talks like Chico.
And he was kidding.
And certainly there ain't nobody at the Senate as dumb as Harpo.
Well, I don't know about that.
Gosh, I'd like to get him in front of a congressional inquiry.
Dinner is served.
Terrific.
Bobby, may I have just one more teeny martini?
My martinis are rather potent.
If my wife wants another drink, she gets another drink.
I shall be serving wine, sir.
She asked for a dry martini.
With respect, sir, if she has any more, she'll have to be carried out.
Well, then we'll carry her out, Robert. I mean, it's all part of the job. You give her whatever the hell she wants, all right?
You think I should have another teeny martini?
No,
Then I shan't have another tiny martini.
most wise.
Well, is that settled?
Is this how your queen smiled at you?
Yes, ma'am.
Gosh, I smile like Queen Elizabeth.
Which one? Ed, why don't you sit here to my left? Terrific. Claire, I think you'd be happier underneath.
You realize you've made my wife drunk.
If you'd warned me, sir, that she'd already been imbibing, I would have made my martinis less potent.
Well, here we go. Another trip to dreamland. Why so little, Robert? Were you afraid of spilling it?
Most of the housekeeping went towards the main course, ma'am.
I see.
My, that was good. Is there any more?
I'm afraid not, sir.
No more.
Robert wants to make sure we have lots of room for his pièce de résistance, don't you, Robert?
But I want some more.
My soup.
Well, I didn't think you wanted it.
You stole my soup.
It's like a drug. The more you have, the more you want.
Ed,
Yeah.
if we could, just for a moment, talk about the tax.
Oh,
There it is.
Now, what were you saying about the author's tax bill?
Oh, my God, I completely forgotten that.
What the hell is that?
Roast leg of lamb, sir.
It looks more like roast leg of Tweety Pie. What is he playing at?
Is that the main course, Robert?
I'm trying to learn to live within your means, ma'am.
Now talk.
The Russian is one potato, madam.
One potato. Is that all I'm going to get?
Oh, golly Moses, no, sir. You have one carrot, one courgette, and 8 petits pois. Eight petits pois.
But I'm starving.
Just think, Eddie. You'll be able to tell Congress you've actually experienced poverty. Why, for the first time you'll know what you're talking about.
I'm sure that Robert wants us to leave a lot of room for the dessert. I'll bet that's going to be a shocker.
Rice pudding, madam.
Rice pudding. I hate rice pudding.
Look, Ed, let's get back to the tax vote. We might just as well.
You don't expect to get my vote after rice pudding,
I'm
do
just
you?
sorry about that.
There is a choice, sir. Semolina pudding.
I don't suppose you could swing a little fruit, could you, Robert?
Much too expensive.
I'm not staying here to be
Don't go,
insulted.
Ed.
2 teaspoonfuls soup, rationed vegetables, rice pudding.
My God.
Too mean even to buy me an apple.
Ed,
Oh,
wait, just-
wake up, Claire. We're
Ed,
leaving.
Ed, we haven't even discussed the tax vote. Maybe you could come to dinner tomorrow night and then we could start all over again.
What do you intend to give us? Cheese from your mousetrap?
I'm sorry.
What's wrong with our marriage?
Shut up, Claire.
I guess that's what's wrong with your marriage.
Yeah, give me my coat before she takes it out and pawns it.
Ed, if you could just give me some idea of how you intend to vote, I could...
I never make up my mind about the way I'm going to vote till I've heard all the arguments.
I see.
But one thing is for sure.
Right.
Your side is going to lose.
Oh, my God.
Rice pudding.
Ed, if you just give me a minute, Ed!
You're not my husband,
Ed!
No, madam.
Kitty.
And one thing more.
Yes.
Personally, I think authors who desert their countries ought to pay extra taxes. 1 potato.
Darling, surely they deserve... Ed, please don't... Well, you're fired.
I do apologize most sincerely, madam. There was nothing left in the housekeeping you...
I don't want to talk about the housekeeping money.
I feel you ought to know, madam, that I did make certain discreet inquiries from a colleague of mine who works in Grosvenor Square. And I found out that the senator had made up his mind before he arrived this evening to vote against your bill.
Robert! Robert,
Yes, ma'am.
could I do the shopping tomorrow?
Why, madam?
Well, I just thought that if I did the shopping tomorrow and I so much as save 1 penny on what you tell me it costs to run this house, then I'm telling you again, Robert, you are definitely, without any doubt, fired!
Thank you so much, madam.
And incidentally, I'm starving! No!
I do hope you're going to include that taxi fare, madam.
What's the matter, Robert? Are you worried?
Not at all, madam.
You know, I saw you spying at me from the window.
Not spying, madam. Observing.
You're a sneak, you know that, Robert?
I hope you've kept the bills, madam.
I don't need any bills.
But I must insist on corroboration.
But you don't need corroboration. I'm telling you right away, off the top of my head, you've won. Hands down. You know, when I asked the price of tomatoes, I asked them if I owned the island. And then when they told me the price of the soap powder, I said, could I write you a check? And then, when they told me how much the coffee was, well, I just asked to see their hire purchase agreement.
I did tell you, madam.
I got so frustrated, Robert, you know what I did? Just went and bought myself a new pair of shoes.
And very pretty, too.
Yes, aren't they nice? And then I got so upset, I went and bought a phonograph record. I think you're gonna like it, Robert. Aren't you gonna apologize?
For what, madam?
I don't know, for being right. Take that smile off your face, please.
Yes, madam.